Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia, and I'm a peer career advisor here at Beyond Barnard. Today, I'm going to be presenting to you on resume best practices, one of the four things we cover in our career skills introduction series. You can find a few others posted online at our YouTube page. So, before I get into the details of best practice around resumes, here are a few things that you can generally come to our office to get support on. Anything related to career development, looking for funding for internships or any questions around that, getting help with applications for graduate school and professional school, getting help with finding and applying to national and international fellowships, and looking at campus roles. And at the bottom, you can see a few of the statistics that we've garnered since Beyond Barnard's launch. So as I mentioned, we have a four-part career skills introduction series, and today I'll be talking about resumes. So overarchingly, the goal is that by the end of this presentation, you will, one, be able to use Beyond Barnard's tried and tested format to create a good-looking document that allows you to put your best foot forward in your job and internship search. Two, mobilize strong language to tailor your resumes more effectively to specific opportunities for you. Three, describe your experiences in richer, more evocative language that helps capture the attention of other readers. Four, think more critically about the challenge that a resume can present. And if you leave with nothing else today, the goal is that you leave with resumes are a genre of argumentative writing that advance a single claim. I am a strong fit for this position, using evidence drawn from your skills and experience. So before I dive into what is a good resume, what you should have on your resume, here are a few common misconceptions that people can have about resumes or Beyond Barnard and the job search that I hope to clear up for you today. So this is today's agenda. First, I'll go through what is a resume, what can it do for you, and then I'll go through how does a resume look like, and specifically walk you through what some of the sections look like, section headers, how you can build that out for yourself. Then we'll talk about how does a resume build an argument, and specifically how can that be tailored for you. And then I will run through just some 5 summary tactical tips to get you started on working on your resume. Okay, so what is a resume? So plainly speaking, a resume is a one-page document that has a clear format. It shows your skills and experiences, and it's tailored to each specific role you are applying using language drawn from the specific opportunity description that you're working from. What can a resume do? It can make a strong argument about you and your skills, can present info efficiently, align you to an opportunity, demonstrate detailed attention, provide specifics, and help you land an interview, which is usually the next phase after a company or organization reviews your resume. Next, I'm going to go into the specifics of what does a resume look like, walk you through an example, which you'll also be able to access yourselves. So this is one of our sample resumes. If you look at the QR code below, you can scan to get a PCA outline of it. So overarchingly, each section, we have a specific format that we recommend. Again, you can have some slight variations within the sections. Maybe you want to order the experience sections differently based on what you're applying. Maybe you want to put your study abroad or your high school in there. Maybe you don't, etc. Generally recommend that everything be between 10.5 to 12-point font. Simply use bold italics to highlight things, have descriptive headings for each section. That's really key, and that's another part you can tailor specifically to positions. And then all dates should be right aligned and reverse chronologically ordered. So first, the header. Header is pretty straightforward. Your full preferred name of your Barnard email address. It's more professional than your personal one. Best phone number to reach you at. Your own LinkedIn address. You can also have you could also put New York, New York, and the Barnard zip code if you'd like. Next section that comes out of the header is typically the education section. Again, you have the bolded education header. You start with where you're currently at, which in your case would be Barnard. You want things to be visually distinct. So you can see like each location studied at is bolded. You have what they're studying italicized, so that stands out to the reader. You have what they're minoring in, their awards below. And then the title for selected courseworks is italicized to sort of point that out as a title for people. And on the right-hand side, you're going to put the expected graduation year. And if you've studied abroad, you can put that in there. If you want to put your high school in there for networking purposes, you can. Although we generally recommend that once you finish out sophomore year, you don't really have your high school on your resume anymore. And then GPA wise, that's always a big question people have. Ultimately, that is up to you, whether you want to put your GPA in your resume. If you do choose to put it in, it's going to be on the right-hand side. I always say, if you have an impressive GPA, it never hurts you to put it on there, but there's no pressure to put your GPA on there. Okay. So now we'll talk about the experience section. So this person has research and communication experience, teaching and mentorship, and leadership and community engagement as titles. So research and communications experience, that's a very tailored title, maybe tailored towards an application they're applying for specifically. It also tells the reader what to expect. And then you can see that each bullet point is one line, direct, specific, and I'll get into what bullet points should have in a second. And they're using plain and direct language. Also, a lot of times people think that in your experience section, you cannot put organizations or clubs that you're a part of on campus. If you've had a significant leadership role or taken on a project in that group or just done something relevant that you're proud of, you think speaks to your experience, that can go in here. You can write about it. A lot of times it's about how do you write about the experiences that you've had? How can you communicate that you've had experiences, even if they don't seem directly related sometimes? And what are those transferable skills? That is sometimes some of the more important things when you're writing your experience section. Okay, lastly, you'll have a section called technical skills, languages, and interests. Interest is an optional part. The reason we have it here is sometimes it can spark conversation, but if you are going to include it, make sure that it is, distinctive, maybe quantifiable or certified. It can be experiences that have shaped you that aren't really experiences that you've listed in the experience section of your resume. But more importantly, and what should be on your resume are technical skills and languages. Now, sometimes people think technical skills are just really intensive skills that maybe only a computer science major would have. And if you are a computer science major and you have those skills, great, put those on there. But it can also be things such as listed here. Microsoft Office, Google Suite, specifically if you want to talk about Excel or Google Sheets, Adobe InDesign, Canva. If you feel you know any social media platform well enough to manage it for someone, you can put that in here, and just as this person did, just specify what that social media platform is. Then you put your languages and make sure you specify either with an adjective or in parentheses the level that you're at. So what's missing from this resume, and why? So this is a list of some of the things that weren't on this resume that maybe could be, and maybe they could be in yours as well, or not. So the first thing is an objective. Some of you may have seen older resumes, or maybe your parents have recommended resumes that have an objective statement at the top of your resume about what you want to do, what role you want to get. We tend to recommend that you stray away from those and don't have those, because one, it's pretty clear what your objective is for an undergraduate student, and two, it is a little bit outdated. Secondly, a professional summary. Typically, resumes don't have that. Maybe the specific role you're applying for would request that, and you would typically know. Another thing that we didn't put on is specific project management experience, or like a project section. Research and coursework can generally communicate these the like great skills development experience. Again, that's what I'm talking about the transferable skills and how you're communicating your experiences. And then publications too. Again, publications and like its own project section are definitely an option for a resume. And you would treat it sort of like you're writing up, like it would go under your experience section, but you're writing it up the way you would write up an experience section. And it's if it's particularly relevant to the role you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying to like a research job or a research position, maybe you want to put a few publications that you've been either the author of or like co-author or have helped out in the process of doing that research, because that can help you stand out as a candidate. Maybe you have a portfolio as like a computer science major or an art major, and so you want to write about the projects that you've done in addition to linking it. Can also help you out if you're in that specific niche. Lastly, also in this resume that we showed you, there was no customer service experience, such as a job you would have held in high school or something similar. Now, I just want to note, we're not saying these aren't valuable. These are definitely valuable, and they can teach transferable skills. However, if you're applying to an intensive internship and you feel that you have other experience that's more recent, that can speak to your skills, we would recommend you use that over your customer service experience. However, your customer service experience is valuable and you can put that on your resume. And the point I'm trying to make in all of this and all of these options and when they might be applicable is that the whole point of this presentation and you tackling your resume is to create your own document that shows your skills the best way they can and is tailored to the opportunities that you're specifically searching for. Now, I'm going to go into how does a resume make a specific argument? So let's talk about the structure of bullet points, specifically the ones in your experience sections. So bullet points on resumes are used to both, one, make arguments more efficiently, and two, because they help to focus attention on your contribution to the work, what you did, what you gained, and the impact you made. So our sentence structure suggestion for bullet point is this: strong verb plus quantity plus impact. So strong verb, I'll get into a few examples on the next slide, but you want to be alternating them within a section. Like, definitely do not repeat verbs within a section. Sometimes you might have like the top experience has one verb and you use the same verb 2 experiences down. That's okay. Try to vary, but that's okay. You want these verbs to focus on your work, provide a clear impression, vary the language, and draw from the description. Quantity. So this doesn't have to be any crazy impressive quantity or big thing. It's just a way that, like, however you can think of to quantify your work in that position. So dollars, individuals, frequencies, specificity is key. Now, again, don't push the line. Sometimes quantifying something genuinely doesn't make sense, but usually within each experience, you can find a way to quantify something. And that always is like between someone who didn't quantify something but has a good resume, can push you to great. Impact statement. Again, with quantifying, sometimes you are generally just stating what you did, and your impact statement comes in the next bullet point. So sometimes it doesn't make sense, but more often than not, like the action you were doing, there was a specific impact statement and reason. So what were you hired to produce? Think about the outcomes of what you were working on, what matters about the work you did, and your impact in your team's workout. Okay, here are some verbs. So for example, you're going to want to stray away from very simple ones like did, took, tried, helped, watched, because there are so many other active verbs you can use. Managed, led, executed, created. Like, you could vary from all of these in just one resume. 2 key thoughts about impact. So first, make sure that you promote your impact first. Obviously, your passion matters, but your passion is not as much of a job qualification in most instances as like your direct experience / transferable skills and the impact that you were able to be a part of and make. Also, try to stray away from thinking about like concerns about how important the work you did is or how impressive it makes you make, because you should have confidence in your resume writing capabilities and also what's on your resume. And as I mentioned a few times, it is really about how you communicate what you did and what you learned. That is crucial. Okay, now I'm going to wrap up with a few 5 tips to get you started in editing your resumes and making them your own. So first, use the format outline to get started updating your document. Secondly, utilize the Handshake library of resources, including example resumes. If you don't know where to find this, if you've ever scheduled an appointment on Handshake, it's the button right next to it. Go to Career Centers and you'll see Career Center on Handshake. You'll see resources, search resumes, and you'll see a bunch of different examples tailored to a bunch of different majors so you can see how people of different majors have done it before. Schedule some time with a peer career advisor to get your resume reviewed. Schedule some time with me or another PCA, and we can help you talk through everything that I just did and tailor it to your specific goals, wants, and needs. Next, establish connections with industry professionals from the Barnard College Network to get their take on your resume. It can often seem very daunting to network. And again, we have a whole other best practices series on networking and building community. But if you can find alumni in your field or the field you want to go into who work at places you're interested in, shoot them a LinkedIn connection request with a note. Find them on Barnard Connect. See if you can grab coffee with them. Ask them if they'd look at your resume. It never hurts. Lastly, help us out by telling a friend about this presentation and be an advocate for using Beyond Barnard. Thank you.